You're tuning in to AfterBuzz TV's The Christmas 24/7 channel, keeping the spirit of Christmas 24/7. Give, forgive, be merry.
What would happen if we all tried to be like Santa and learned to give, as only he can give, of ourselves, our talents, our love, and our hearts? Maybe if we could all learn Santa's beautiful lesson, maybe there would finally be peace on earth and goodwill toward man.
Ladies and gentlemen, happy late Thanksgiving and welcome to the 6 months of Christmas here on AfterBuzz TV's Christmas 24/7 network. We're just coming out of the Thanksgiving holiday. We have a full house here in studio, barring our fearless leader, Keven Undergaro, who is snowed in Boston. But what a great reason to have to miss our show.
That's a great
reason. I think that's the only acceptable reason.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with our wonderful guests, guys. We have the creator of the toys that made us, as well as a very, very prolific producer in general, a lot of comedy, which I'm really excited to talk about too, but most excitingly and most relevantly, the toys that made us, and soon the movies that made us as well.
It's already out.
Already out.
29th.
Perfect.
Oh,
Okay,
amazing.
man. I guess we're in December now,
Yeah.
aren't we?
Oh, that's
I think in
crazy.
my head I'm just making it be Thanksgiving as long as I can.
It came
but-
so late this year, so
Yeah.
we don't
I
have that
know.
little buffer week between then
Yeah.
and Thanksgiving, Christmas. So
Well, that's perfect timing. They dropped Friday. I guess
Yeah.
December already showed up.
Yeah,
it's here.
crazy.
But Brian Volk Weiss, we're so excited to have you here today. It's an honor.
Thank you for having me. It's
yes,
my honor.
great.
Good. Well, we're very excited to have you. Of course, I'm not only joined by Brian. I've got two of my co-elves here as well. Start with Mikey Christmas.
Yes. How are we?
Very good to have you.
Thank you.
And Elf Aaron.
Yes,
Good to have
hello,
you as
everyone.
well. And our Christmas punk, Ryan in the booth. We have you as
course.
well.
Yes, so excited to be here. Merry Christmas and Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Yes.
Kind of like a rockin' elf in there.
I
Yeah.
know. Our Christmas punk always dons the sunglasses because there's just a bit of edge in that
That's
booth.
his look.
Just a bit of edge.
Well, on today's show, I'm really excited, guys. We're going to start by just reviewing our Thanksgivings. I feel like I'm excited to hear how everything went. And then we're going to talk all things Christmas and, of course, toys. We would have to talk toys when we have the toy genius himself in
course.
here, Brian.
Yes.
So let's start with our Thanksgivings, guys. Ladies first, Aaron.
Okay, I had a great Thanksgiving.
A Malibu Thanksgiving,
yes, I
right?
did.
Yes.
Well, San Diego on actual Thanksgiving, but we also
Okay.
went to Malibu. We visited my grandparents in San Diego, and we made a whole nice dinner with them. My parents and my sister all came out here, and yeah, it was great to spend time with family. I'm excited to see them in a few more weeks for Christmas.
Did the family all get along?
Yeah, sure.
We'll save the rest for after
Yeah.
air. Favorite side dish?
Well, you know, of course, I made it myself, the sweet potato casserole.
Okay.
I put all the little marshmallows in, and my grandmother kept yelling at me. She's like, just smush them all down, but I like to do it in a nice little pattern.
Good.
But yeah, it was delicious.
I'm glad it turned
It
out
was
well.
amazing.
Brian, I'm going to go to you next. Were you in LA for Thanksgiving?
I was.
Okay.
I travel a lot for my my day job.
Yes.
So my goal for Thanksgiving was not to travel. I had hoped not to leave the house for 3 days straight, but I only was able to do 2 days straight.
That's impressive stuff.
But
fair.
I believe the first time I've done that in 2019.
Amazing.
Nice. And favorite side dish for you?
You know, it's funny. My in-laws are Chinese, and we have, I guess, what I would call a Chinese Thanksgiving.
Cool.
That was probably 80% Chinese, 20% turkey related. And my father-in-law knows I love shrimp scampi, and he kind of made like a Chinese shrimp scampi. I don't know exactly
sounds
what it was,
amazing.
but it was fantastic.
Yum.
So it was,
Sounds so
that
good.
was, and it was a side dish. Like
Yeah.
no one got it but me.
Man, now I want some
Amazing.
Chinese shrimp scampi.
I
That
know.
sounds great. Any Thanksgiving traditions that your family has? I guess Thanksgiving traditions aren't as common as
Yeah,
Christmas
it's Christmas
traditions,
ones.
but
Turkey.
know.
A lot
Yeah.
of turkey.
good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it. Mikey Christmas,
Yeah.
good Thanksgiving.
It's a great one. This starts the holidays for me. You know,
Yes.
we talked about I'm kind of the odd man out on this podcast when all five of us are here because I usually don't start till Thanksgiving Day. That's when it hits. That's when the music starts. My girlfriend has a surprise for me though. She's like, "Hey, the 30th, you can't work. You got to take it off." She told me like months in advance. Wouldn't tell me what it was. So we go down to Ontario, California.
Oh.
She took me to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
TSO.
Oh, that's
Love it.
amazing.
You ever seen them?
I have.
No.
I'm from Cleveland.
I'm curious.
TSO's always in Cleveland
was
for
it?
Christmas.
Let me tell you. You know they're like one famous song.
Yeah.
And they had like this. They had a narrator, and it's kind of like a storytelling, in about an hour and a half. I'm like, okay, I'm on board. There's some flames every now and then, and the long hair they rock out, all the guys, and then It's done. Okay, let's get up. Oh no, they're not done. They're doing like 3 curtain calls through 3 different songs, and it went on for about 45 minutes after the Christmas part, and it was just random. Like they had these video screens like showing like 90s bad CGI castles and dragons, and there was like this Beethoven with these like vampiresses, and we're just like, what's going on here?
They derailed.
It derailed. Like it reminded me of Return of the King, where there was like 15 endings. And you're like, where are we gonna go? Oh no, we're not going. Oh, we could have wrapped up, but we're not gonna wrap up.
Best example of that is AI. AI
Yes.
technically 3, but really 4 endings.
Yeah.
This was
Meryl Streep shows
a
up.
wonderful experience.
But I gotta ask you this.
Yes.
So, Calvin and Hobbes. I don't know if you ever read Calvin and Hobbes. Do you remember Calvin used to always get Hobbes tuna fish? No, Hobbes would get Calvin tuna fish for the holidays, and Calvin would always be like, I don't like tuna fish. And Hobbes would be like, oh, I love tuna fish, and take it.
Yeah, did she just want to go?
Who was this a gift for? You or your girlfriend?
Well, the 2 girls, is my girlfriend and her best friend, and her husband and myself, we've never seen them, but the girls have seen it. But about after the Christmas part was done, they'd seen the Christmas celebration before, so they loved it. So, but then after that, we were all on the same page, like, what is going? We don't know what's going on. But like the hardcore fans, they're rocking out. This one guy looked like Rod Stewart. He was going at it. Like the whole floor was going nuts.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, the first hour and a half was wonderful Christmas, and
Does
after that it was
Perseverance
just.
Orchestra have groupies?
Oh, you would right there.
Hardcore.
There was this guy in front of us, and he was just rocking out with like this mop top. Just it's insane.
Wow.
They are hardcore groupies.
If there's anything I've learned from all the shows that we've made, everybody and everything has groupies.
Oh my God, yeah, that is.
It might just be 1 or 2.
Well,
something
everyone's
for
got
everyone.
them.
Yeah.
We launched a Christmas network, and amazingly, we found our tribe. So
Yes,
we certainly
that is true.
have our
That is
groupies as
true.
well. Right, guy, I'm going to throw to you. How was your Thanksgiving, man? You were in Delaware, right?
I was in Delaware all Thanksgiving, and I mean, I'll get to Thanksgiving, but Black Friday, you should know, in Delaware is kind of a madhouse because there's no sales tax whatsoever. So
right.
everyone who is going there to get things cheap, it's quadruple the amount of people. So I didn't go out this year, and I stayed home with my family. I did something that Brian said. I stayed home for 2 days and didn't leave the house.
Nesting.
I love it.
Nesting. I got to catch up with some high school friends, which was nice. A few of the traditions we have. So we stopped going out and getting a tree a few years ago. So we have a artificial tree. But my favorite thing, bar none, all of Christmas, anything, is decorating the tree with my family because we have such great ornaments. My mom does an amazing job of getting ornaments whenever we go on like a vacation or some kind of trip, or just to get a memory from something that happened, and just reminiscing on all these years of things we've done while we're decorating the tree. That was the best part of my Thanksgiving.
I love that.
I love it. Well, yeah, I had a good Thanksgiving too. It was the whole Graham fam clan made it back to Cleveland, which was great. So I've got 2 older sisters. I've got like 6 nieces and nephews now. They just keep showing up. So it's a lot of time with kiddos, but it was fun. Saw Frozen 2, which felt very Christmassy.
Oh boy.
It was so good.
Yes. I speaking of a couple endings where I felt a little bit off my rocker, but I still really did like it. Elsa on that horse was
Yeah, she's a horse
pretty
girl.
dope. Yeah.
Elsa's a horse girl.
Elsa's a horse girl. But I gotta say, we made a corn pudding this year.
Interesting. What is corn pudding? I'm not familiar.
Yeah, it's pretty. Picture what you would think a corn pudding is, and that's pretty much what it is. I wish I could have a more interesting answer, but it's pretty good. I'll put the recipe on our website.
My girlfriend has something like that. Like I was introduced to her friends and their Friendsgiving 2 years ago when we first started dating, and she's like, "I got to make my purple potatoes," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" She's like, "Yeah, Thanksgiving food. It's missing some color." So her recipes, they take their purple potatoes and just make mashed potatoes out of them, but they're purple. It looks like Play-Doh. It looks like Play-Doh, but it's mashed potatoes, and she's so proud of them.
Wow.
And it does. It looks on the plate, and you're like, "Oh, that's." Yeah, that brings some color to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're great, though.
Well, that's good. We'll do purple potatoes next year.
Amazing.
Well, we're going to get into our guests right now because we're so honored to have Brian here. Brian, I want to ask you first, when you think back to your best Christmas, does anything specifically come to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, easily. So basically, I used to not just chew but eat. I know it's disgusting. My fingernails.
Oh yeah,
I would literally like nibble them until they came off and eat them. So my mom was like, "All right, I got a great idea. How about if you don't do that for a year, I'll get you the Millennium Falcon." My mom just kind of made it even better. My mom also had a tendency to kind of be like, sucker. So sometimes I do what I was supposed to do and not get the prize.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember this like it was an hour ago, like seeing a big box under the tree that was about the size of the Millennium Falcon, but you got it because my mom's my mom.
Oh, no.
I'm like, that could be a fake box. Like, and by the way, nothing. No, I had a fine childhood. This is not like abuse or anything, but I mean, she really liked the dark jokes. But I opened it, and it actually was the Millennium Falcon, and I truly, I think $500 million in cash or gold right now, Bob, would equal, and maybe not even equal how I felt about tear. And by the way, even when I tore it and saw it said like, oh, Millennium, I even was like shaking it.
It wasn't an empty box.
Yeah. But no, it was in there, and I had one of the greatest moments of my life.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's game changing.
Yeah.
Were you much of a toy kid growing up? I mean, I would guess that you are based on the fact.
Yes.
So when you think of, the 12 huge, like, mega phenomenon toys that you've got over on the show, what are the ones that resonate most personally with you? Star Wars, obviously.
Definitely Star Wars. And Star Wars, I always say, it really is, for me, in a class by itself, because that movie, I was so young when I saw it. I didn't know this word. I mean, I was only 3 or 4 years old, but I was so young, I basically thought it was now what we would call a documentary, like, because I didn't know what a movie was.
Yeah.
So I saw it, and for like months and months and months, like, people would be like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And dead serious. I'd be like, I intend to join the rebellion, and I'd love to get an A-wing.
I'm going to go to college for it.
But if they put me in an X-wing, it'll be okay. Blah, blah, blah. So my mom finally got me to one of those books for kids that showed, hey, it's not a giant Death Star. It's like the size of a beach ball. And hey, it's Anthony Daniels. It's not a real robot.
Well, you're in good company. Our producer did not necessarily grow up at the same time you did, but I still think he believes he will be in the rebellion. Is that right, Ryan?
That is right, and I'm already signing up, practicing my Wookiee noises. I know all the languages.
He's an earnest participator, so you're in safe company, Brian. I love it.
I'm loving all of this. I remember a similar gift. Like I was super excited for the Lego Millennium Falcon because I grew up with Legos, and I had the same exact thing kind of happen. And when I opened it, it was like life changing.
Well, I'm having a real I normally build 1 or 2 Lego sets a year, but this year, I don't know what's going on. They had the Saturn V, that was amazing. Then 3 years ago, Mega Bloks put out a 3,100 piece USS Enterprise.
Wow.
It was $400. I got it about 2 months ago for $80, including shipping and tax.
Wow, good deal.
So I was halfway through making that, and Lego didn't even, like, this is such a, it's like either brilliant or really, really stupid way of doing business. Lego, without telling anybody, they're based in Denmark, in Billund. There's a airport in Billund with a Lego store. One day, some Lego geek was going through the airport. They had put out a 1989 Batmobile without telling anyone.
Oh, they did that lemonade drop.
Yes, exactly.
Didn't tell anyone.
That's exactly what they did. So literally, I'm sitting here halfway through the stupid 3,100 piece Enterprise, and then all of a sudden, all the Lego blogs and stuff are like, "What the? Can I curse? What's the cursing?"
I feel like for our fans, our fans are okay with it, but maybe we try to.
I'll just say the effing.
That's good.
Now they put out an effing
Yes.
Batmobile, so I literally raced, and it was Mega Bloks is great. It's not Lego.
It's not Lego.
Flipped it over the table.
Little sandpaper had to be brought out. Little crazy glue. But yeah, so I mean, and the Batmobile has more pieces than the Enterprise. It's like 3,300 pieces. So
that's crazy.
I'm going to a Lego renaissance right
Gotcha. I
Well,
love it.
I want to talk. Obviously, you're a toy fanatic. We would hope and expect that based on your body of work. But can you talk about the process of turning your passion and obsession for toys into one of our favorite docuseries on Netflix? What did that look like?
It involved a lot of luck and perseverance. It took me about 7 years to sell.
Wow.
I came really close. The origin was and it's funny. I get asked this, and I'm like, well, I guess this is what happened, but it's not much of an origin story. I was in a Borders books, and for whatever reason, I don't remember why anymore. I was looking for a book or information about the origins of Transformers, and there was not a single book in the bookstore about the origin of Transformers. So I started looking around, nothing on G.I. Joe, nothing on anything except Star Wars toys. So I was like, well, that's weird. And then there was like a shelf with like 100 books about the War of 1812. And I'm like, and I'm always like, I don't mean any disrespect to the veterans of that great war, but
I don't think they're still around the War of 1812.
I concluded that as well. Yeah. But I was like, well, my wife, who doesn't know anything about Transformers, can recognize Optimus Prime and knows who he is, knows who Bumblebee is, doesn't know anything about the War of 1812. Why is there nothing here? So that was the like, hey, we should do a TV show. I'm a producer. I can produce this. So 7 years later, there's basically we do a lot of stand-up specials, and there was a guy at Netflix, 2 very lucky breaks. So producers, just like actors, we get typecast. So I was always viewed as a producer of comedy. So it was very hard for me to sell anything that wasn't comedy. So that was part of why I had so much trouble selling the show. So this guy, we became friends, his name was Devin. He came to my house one day and he saw my toy collection. So that was a huge variable. Had he not seen it, I don't think the show would have happened. Then the other variable, probably a little bit more important, he was asked to basically start up Netflix's unscripted department. So here's a guy I'd known for 3 years, done millions and millions of dollars worth of deals with, so we had that trust, and he'd seen my crazy toy collection, which wasn't crazy at the time. Now it's crazy. Now it's real crazy. But it was, I thought it was crazy, but it wasn't crazy. And he told me, after I tortured him for probably 6 months, literally he would answer the phone, because he was doing both jobs at the same time, the stand-up specials and starting the unscripted. He'd be like, hey, dude, this isn't the toy thing, is it? And I'm like, well, actually. So he finally gave me notes on what kind of toy show Netflix would be interested in. And I took those notes. We made about a 5-minute tape that we shot literally just down the street at Blast from the Past on Magnolia. We shot half of it there. We turned my living room into like a little mini sound stage. We shot the rest of it in my living room because all my toys was near my toy collection. And they ordered 8 episodes.
Wow.
Like that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was. This is over 3 years ago now. Still can't believe it happened. It's like I feel like I'm living in a movie.
The funny thing is, though, it feels like such an easy sell to me. I mean, it's one of those, you talk about just title log line alone. If I'm browsing Netflix and I see the toys that made us, nostalgia is one of the most powerful, I think, motivators of people when they kind of vet through so much content. Do you feel like people you're pitching to just didn't see that?
Here's the thing about, and I know this is obvious, but I can only speak from my own experiences. If you had 99 other producers here, they could be telling you 99 other things. Right, yeah. But in my own experience, nothing is easy to sell. Every sale is a lucky break. Everyone. I mean, not one thing have I sold and been like, well, that was easy. And I've even gone out with a few things that I was like, no way this isn't going to sell, and it didn't. And and this is probably stupid for me to admit before I retire, but I mean, I've sold things I don't know why they bought it. Like sometimes you develop something and it doesn't come out the way you hope it would, and you're like, I put a lot of time into this. Might as well take 5 to 10 meetings, and then you'll get the call. Hey, we want it. But I'm like, really?
What about that other thing I pitched last year?
What about that toy stick? 2005. So you never ever know.
Yeah, exactly. Everything changes so fast in this industry. You never know what people are going to be interested in or what people want to buy.
Exactly.
So for season 1, how did you know the 4 toys you wanted to select? And in general, how do you guys? I mean, it is a wide smorgasbord of toys that have kind of broken through culture. So how do you guys make those selections?
So we shot seasons 1 and 2 simultaneously. So we actually shot the first 8. They only broke it in half after we were, because they wanted to make the holidays. People are always like, Why is it 4? Always 4. Why is it 4? That's why. Like, they want to have something for Christmas and the holidays. I'm the only Jew who always says Christmas. I never say holidays. That was the reason for that. And Netflix, the thing about Netflix, which is really interesting, is it's very hard to sell them shows, but once you do, they really kind of leave you alone.
Yeah.
So they just let me choose what I wanted to do. The only exception to what I'm about to say is He-Man, and I'll explain that in a second. But the other episodes, basically I had 3 kind of like rules that weren't real rules. I envisioned this thing kind of like a Mount Rushmore of toys, where it was like every toy line that we cover has to have at least one character that could be on a theoretical Mount Rushmore of toys. Okay. So like I was saying with my wife, she don't know Optimus, she don't know Transformers, but she knows what Optimus Prime looks like. Yeah. So I wanted every toy to have at least one character like that.
A spokesperson, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Better said. 2, I wanted a multi-generational toy. You know, one of the things, and now I can't help it but bash it, because people are like, oh, and I'm like, well, I'll just do it more. Mask. Everyone's like, you gotta do Mask.
I love Mask.
You gotta do. Do you?
Are you kidding me?
Do you?
We're probably...
Give me some names. Give me some
Matt
characters.
Tracker, Brad Turner.
All right.
Sly Rax.
Okay.
Come on now.
All right, so we're gonna have a real
T-Bob.
conversation then. We're gonna have a real conversation.
I'm
love
a
this.
kid of the 80s.
All right, here we go.
This is my
Here we
thing.
go. How many seasons was the show on?
Well, it did.
Ah,
hold on. It did 2 and then transferred into like a racing show.
Yes! Okay, so this is great. So I normally have to explain this to everybody. I love this. This is actually the first time anyone's ever answered this correctly.
I love Mask.
Nice, Mike.
So, listen, say again what you just said, because it's really interesting.
About the
What
seasons,
happened in the 3rd season?
It became like a racing show.
So
like
you're telling me a toy that's whole shtick was transforming.
Yeah.
At some point, it was like, this is going so badly. Maybe we just stop with the transforming.
Well, the other
Isn't that
thing,
a little weird?
but then they had like the sign on the side of the road opened up and it transformed into something, and then they had like
That's
the gas
actually
pump.
that's the
turned into
only
something.
mask thing I have is that billboard.
billboard.
And you know why I have that of anything I could have from that show? Because I just thought it was so funny. A billboard.
Yeah.
You could buy a billboard.
And the animation got crappy. That they did. I think they went a different company on that season. It was just weird.
Well, by the way, season 3 didn't even air in its entirety.
There you
They
go. There it
greenlit
is.
12. They only aired, I think, 8. And that's why. So rule number 2, I want this multi-generational thing where a mom who played with
Right.
Barbies could watch it with her daughter. Could watch, like, that's what we really. And people are always like, mask, mask, mask. And I'm always like,
Yeah.
No,
It's a
it's not
niche
around
thing. It's
anymore,
of
yeah.
all those, it's like Silverhawks. Like I would love a Silverhawks, but
one season.
you can't do anything on Silverhawks.
One season
Yeah, all that
Silverhawks.
cops,
Yeah.
Mask.
By the
all
way,
that
though,
stuff.
I do love me some Cops.
That's
That
great.
show
The
was
theme song,
theme song.
the cap gun, and the thing. They're toys with a cap gun. Come on,
I
man.
remember even being a little kid, and that came out like as I was starting to age out of like Saturday morning cartoons. But I just remember, Cops came out at the tail end of that,
Yeah.
and I just remember being like, this is not for kids. This is crazy. That guy's really scary.
Yeah.
The eyes with no head.
It's great.
The
Yeah.
80s in general was a lot of, this is for kids? Like,
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
just the big question.
No, but if
was-
you know, what's funny though, if you watch Transformers or G.I. Joe now,
yeah.
it really was for kids. Like, I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
hard to watch now.
Yeah.
But Cops had like plots. Like real
Yeah.
bad guys.
Yeah,
People
kids don't like
died.
plots.
Like it was like a real thing. And then the third rule is story. There has to be a story. There's some toys where they get greenlit, they get made, they're a huge hit. And that's it. And that's a great thing for the toy company. Very boring if you're a producer of a show about toys.
Yeah.
So there's a couple toys we have not done just because there was no story.
I'm
Yeah.
sure as a long time both film and stand-up producer, you knew that story is the engine that drives good TV, right? You can't really do an episode on a fidget spinner, even though that was so viral, because there's nothing
there.
That's interesting, because I did notice, I was researching, and of all the 12 toys that you've covered, every one of them has some kind of film like extension, which I think
Hello Kitty sort of doesn't.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But
yeah.
Hello Kitty is such a mass. Like she's been in everything. I feel like
Yeah.
it's just such a easily recognizable cultural thing that it's like if they made a movie about it, I feel like it would almost be weird.
You know what it is? I interned somewhere and I read a Hello Kitty, when I was doing coverage, I read a Hello Kitty spec, but
Really?
it was never made. It
There's,
was like in
there's
my head.
and I mean, I know they could change this, I guess, Sanrio, if they wanted to. But it's a very bizarre. First of all, I made that episode for my wife. Like, I didn't know if we'd be able to get any more episodes ever. So I made Star Trek for me, and I made Hello Kitty for my wife. And I didn't know anything about Hello Kitty. I mean, nothing. And I met Sanrio, and we're having our first meeting there. And I remember someone was like, da 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 da, and all the characters are in their own little worlds, and da da da, and I'm like, hold on a second, hold on, what does that mean? And I remember she was like, well, they all exist in their own worlds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can they interact with each other? She's like, oh no, oh no. And I just remember being like, well, what if Han Solo couldn't talk to Luke Skywalker? Like, what if Bumblebee and Optimus Prime couldn't talk to each other? So that made it a challenge as an episode to make. And to be honest with you, either you love what we did or you feel what we did was cheating. I think it was cheating, but I don't care. We just kind of embraced the craziness and put it into the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I remember, like, I had to do kind of like an earnestly written packet to try to describe the world of Hello Kitty to my boss. And I remember saying, like, well, two of the characters kind of have this on-again, off-again, like, Ross-Rachel thing. But depending on which project you were looking at, the rules totally changed between them. So interesting.
Yeah. No.
How did you feel about discovering brony culture for the My Little Pony stuff?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this, and I mean, I would have said this to you a year ago. My daughter is about to turn 6. She's been into My Little Pony for probably about 2 years, so I've been kind of paying attention to it for 2 years. It's good. Like, it's, if you, like, of all the stuff my daughter watches, like, there's real, like, I get it. I don't consider myself a brony, but I get it. I have a shelf of My Little Ponies. The characters are great. The plots are great. Like, I would argue anybody now who's never seen My Little Pony, who's also never seen Transformers or G.I. Joe, arguably would enjoy My Little Pony exponentially more.
Wow.
Especially, Transformers is kind of like what I like to call Chips series. You remember Chips?
Yeah,
the motorcycle show? That show had 5 plots. And they just redid those plots every 6 episode. They went back to the first plot. Different names, different actors, whatever. Same 5 shows. That was Transformers.
Yeah.
They were looking for fuel. One of them got lost. like it was My Little Pony, complicated stories, complicated characters, a lot of pathos. So I get it, and I came to it from that point of view.
Yeah.
Good TV is good TV.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know, especially nowadays, there aren't really rules for what genre is going to be releasing the best storytelling because, well, you look at Thrones, I don't think 20 years ago people would have said the most popular show on TV was going to be a fantasy show.
Absolutely.
But it changed the game. Yeah. So it's, you just never know.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's talk about the films that made us. Just came out on Friday. Very exciting. Did you use the Toys That Made Us as a model when kind of going into that project? So, with something like film, to me it feels so much harder to vet. With toys, it feels like when you think back, there are certain iconic, culturally resonant toys that you think of. But with films, how did you guys go about deciding?
Well, that was definitely much more so than toys affected. Like with toys, like, you know, the people at Netflix were like, well, Brian's the toy expert, let him do his silly toy show.
Right.
With movies, it was a little different because Netflix knows a lot about movies.
Yeah.
Right.
And also they know part of what they wanted to do was have the movies on the show.
Gotcha. So they had to own the
on
rights.
the service.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
that also narrowed down what we could do, and they also were adamant that it be a holiday vibe. So that's why there's Home Alone. That's why there's Die Hard. I chose Dirty Dancing and Ghostbusters because I thought they could bridge a gap that didn't necessarily, like, it wouldn't make sense to have like Home Alone, Ghostbusters, Die Hard, Dirty Dancing, and RoboCop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we get more episodes, we're definitely doing RoboCop.
Yes.
It kills me that we didn't do RoboCop. But it was much more driven by the time of year and also how the movies get chosen that are on the service.
So it's interesting when I look at those 4 movies, even as someone who I feel like culturally came a bit after the heyday of those movies, they still feel like such iconic pieces of the DNA of our pop culture. But do you feel like there are movies nowadays that come out and have that kind of cultural impact?
Oh, sure.
What do you think of in today's kind of cinematic climate as movies that would sort of parallel those if you were to do something less nostalgic, say?
Well, I mean, a great example is Joker. I mean, Joker... Here's all you gotta know about Joker. Here's all you gotta know. Warner Brothers, almost 110 years old, I would have to imagine has at least conservatively a $500 billion line of credit. They made this movie for $50 million and brought in $25 million from partners and gave away half of the profits.
Wow.
That's how low their expectations were for what it would be. Here we are. It's probably going to do $1.3 to $1.4 billion. Have you seen it?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't.
I mean, it's a culture. I mean, that almost anybody involved with making that movie, I think, would have partied like it was 1999 if it had done 150.
Yeah.
I think they would have been happy if it did 80. So here you have a movie that's going to do almost 1.5 billion. People are going to talk about that movie for 100 years, and they should.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the stairs where he dances, it's like you can't even go up there anymore because there's all these people taking pictures.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Do you think a non-franchise film can do it? Because those 4 movies you picked were original screenplays. Do you think we live in a world where you can write something original and create that kind of impact?
I think it can happen. I think it's always been hard. Like, everybody's like, oh, if it's not a Marvel movie. It's always been like that. It wasn't Marvel movies, but it was something else. It can still happen. It's just you got to be lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very risk-intensive business. Imagine, like, I always try and, like, compare our business to a different type of business. Imagine Boeing. Every time they make a 777, they don't know if it's going to come out. Like, that's what the studios do.
Yeah.
Every time the studio they make the same product 12 months a year and have no clue what it's going to look like when it locks. Imagine if every 747 looked kind of different. Like, imagine if half...
That's a great point.
Imagine if half the 747s they made were like, nah.
Can we fix this in post?
Don't even give it to the customer. Like,
It's
that's
true.
like there's no business like it.
I've never thought about it like that.
You have to be lucky. I'm trying to, like, Die Hard, by the way. If you watch the episode, that movie was and this did not. So we got some secret bonus information for the AfterBuzz, the TV 24/7.
Exclusive.
This is exclusive information. This did not make the cut. They were making that movie simultaneously at Fox when they were making what's it called? What's the movie with De Niro and Grodin?
Midnight Run.
They were making Midnight Run, and everybody at Fox, everybody all over town, the hit would be Midnight Run.
Wow.
Die Hard was this stupid little dumb film. The Joel Silver building blow up with the guy from Moonlighting. Wasn't even Sybil Shepherd.
Right.
Like, that was the vibe going into Die Hard.
That's crazy.
And then 2 years later, Die Hard on a boat. Die Hard on a plane. Die Hard, and to the point where literally, and this is in the show, where someone at some point, literally they were pitching, I forgot what it was, but there was a movie being sold as Die Hard in a building. And then, like, with no sense of irony. Like, they literally just lost, lost
the plot.
perspective. So, you never know.
That's crazy.
And Dirty Dancing, by the way, again, you mentioned these are all big print. Dirty Dancing, if you watch the episode, I mean, it was literally everybody passed. They made it for $3.5 million. Like, it's only after the fact that it's viewed as a cultural changing thing. beforehand, it was like a Clearasil movie.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of get that because when you think about these as log lines, you're not necessarily blown away.
Yeah.
Like you hear Ghostbusters pitched and you're probably like, huh?
How does that work? Yeah.
And it's just, it's
hard to
movie
visualize.
filmmaking such a magic confluence of so many factors. When you look at something like Dirty Dancing, for example, why do you think it's Patrick Swayze? What do you think made that movie what it was?
I think
and is.
I think it's a couple things. I think at its heart, it's the chemistry and the relationship between Patrick Swayze, between the two leads. I think that and we get into this a lot, like you get that wrong, you're done.
Yeah.
Like you have to get that right. And they really got it right. But I think the other thing that it's about, you really need a story that at the end of the day is relatable to at least 80% of humanity. And you had class struggle. You have a father-daughter relationship. I mean, I can't even talk about the scene between Gray and her dad, where at the end on the gazebo, where he starts crying.
Yeah.
What kind of movie you see a dad cry?
I know.
Like, where she's like, you need to grow up. That he's just, his lip trembles and everything. Like, I mean, I'm literally like tearing up now. But you don't know that when you read the script.
Right.
You know Orbach's going to take the role. You don't know Orbach is going to, do what he did. You don't know any of that stuff. It's all luck.
So, Mike is a huge fan of the toys that made the series. Which of the episodes most resonates with you, and why would you say?
It's like definitely G.I. Joe. Definitely G.I. Joe. But the Masters of the Universe, because you talk about the Millennium Falcon with you, for me it was Castle Grayskull. When I got that Castle Grayskull, like, just the art on the box. Like, I'm sure like all the art, like, and how the story, like, the stuff I watched in your episode, that, like, how Cringer came about. Like, the way they think was it the G.I. Joe line that we got a tiger. It's not the same scale. Put it in there, paint it green. It's like, it's Cringer.
Yeah.
It's like, He-Man to me, I haven't seen it yet, but the Power Rangers. I was older for Power Rangers. I was working at Toys R Us. That's how much I love toys. I went, it's like, when I got out of college, I'm going to Toys R Us to work. So I was there the Christmas that Power Rangers hit. We had guys being offered. There's one guy came in, who got on the news. He owned a car dealership. He's like, if you give me a box off that truck, I'll give you a car off the lot.
Oh my gosh.
And the manager's like,
did he take it?
The manager to all of us was like, do not take his out. Do not. We're telling you this right now. You will be fired. Do not do that.
That's worth
but
it.
It became kind of like a spectacle thing, and we're all just like, I don't know what to do. Kid out of college, like, I don't know what to do. I wanted a car, but like the Power Rangers just like is insane. But G.I. I don't know if it's G.I. Joe, because you remember like Toys R Us back in the day. You'd have to walk down the long aisles, and then you had the aisles, and then someone did a blog. It was like the pictures of Toys R Us in the heyday, and it was like pegs just stacked, and like the USS Flag and the boxes, and you'd walk down as a kid, and you go, go into Toys R Us. What a day when Toys R Us closed.
By the way, if you're a G.I. Joe fan, another bonus little sneaky thing for you. So Hassenfeld, who was the head of Hasbro, this is probably one of my favorite things we had to cut, which that's an awkward way of phrasing it. It was painful to cut this, but Hassenfeld was the head of Hasbro, and they brought the flag to Hassenfeld to approve. And for those of you that don't know, the flag was 8.5 feet long.
Wow. Massive.
Could hold 4 Sky Strikers.
Yeah, like the actual jet would go on it.
Yeah, 4. It could hold 4. With the wings out even. Yeah. And Hassenfeld saw it, and they were all positive he would not approve it. And he was like, this is great. I love it. You guys outdid yourself. Approved.
Go for it.
So cut to about 3 months later, they're at Toy Fair, and there's all these flags being put together for a demonstration. They like have 8 of them on a table, and Hassenfeld walks in, and he sees them, and he goes, why are there 8 of these? And the staff was like, they thought he was like, why so few? And they were like, well, we're still making them. We're literally making them in like the Pawtucket parking lot right now with hair dryers, like drying the plastic. Like we can't even believe we got 8 done. And Hassenfeld was like, what do you mean? How many? This isn't in production. And they're like, no, it is in production. You approved it. And he's like, I didn't approve this. And they're like, no, you did approve it. So-and-so was in the meeting. So-and-so was there. You signed the paper. Da-da-da-da-da. It was so ludicrous what it was. Hassenfeld just assumed It was a
joke?
display for Toy Fair. He didn't think it was a toy. So when he literally was like, we're going to
my
literally
gosh.
bankrupt the whole company with this thing.
Oh, my
This is crazy. Yeah, it was a
God.
complete accident
my
that went
gosh.
into production.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I
That's
love
crazy.
But they
stories
sold.
like
It was
that.
always sold out.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, it was a
Always.
huge hit.
Yeah.
And the reason they didn't make, they only made 10,000 of them. And the reason they didn't make, they could have sold it for years.
Yeah.
And the reason they didn't was even though they knew it would sell, even though it was profitable, the amount of money that went into, like if they greenlit 5,000 more, would literally screw up, would mess up the cash flow for like the whole company
Yeah.
for 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it was
crazy.
so expensive to make.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So I
Yeah.
have to ask, I don't know how much you're allowed to say, but we now have 2 That Made Us series
Yes.
on Netflix.
Yes.
Any others you've considered? Any others
Yes.
you're pitching?
So when season 2 came out and Netflix was happy with it, they asked me to come in and pitch. I forgot how they phrased it, but it was like, some vague. I'm so bad at talking like this. They're like, let's talk about the future, something like that, something vague. So I went in with 2 pitches. One pitch was for the video games that made us.
Oh.
And we put together, in my opinion, though I can say this and not be too egotistical because our staff made it, not me, but it was a phenomenal tape. I mean, literally people were tearing up watching it. Like you would see Lara Croft 1992 version
Yeah.
morphing into
Oh,
like
wow.
the
Oh, that's crazy.
2018 version, and we did that with Link from Zelda, Mario, whatever. So probably 200 hours of work,
Oh gosh.
to everything. And then at the last minute, I was kind of like, what's better than one pitch? 2 pitches. Okay. So we made, I could even show you a picture of it. All I did was make a poster, and it's the famous poster of Bruce Willis with the gun like this, wearing the wife beater in front of Nakatomi Tower. But we changed his head to Frank Sinatra's head. Do you know the story?
Yeah, it was. What's it? Nothing's for tomorrow, or
You're good, man.
Yep, that's my
good.
thing, man.
You're good.
It was
Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah, he had an option, right, to make this
He was
movie.
contractually obligated, and Die Hard is a sequel.
Was going to be a
to
sequel
a
to this
movie
book.
that had already come out. So they had to offer it to him.
Wow.
He said yes,
Yeah.
and then he said no because he was 70.
Yeah, he was kind of hollow at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So that, and they saw the poster. They were like, "What the f is that?" I explained the story,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Greenlit."
Wow.
I'm like, "What about video games?"
What about the 200 hours of work?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, let's see how season 3 does. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
So we could still see it, is what you're saying.
Here's what I'll tell you. I don't know if it'll be on Netflix or not, and if it's not, it'll be called something else.
Right.
It will get made.
All right.
Well, we'll bring you back in here when it
Yeah.
drops. We actually
Yeah.
have a ton of gamer fans too on our
my
sister
gosh.
network,
Absolutely.
so we'll find a place to air that. I have to ask, Brian. I was doing some research and saw that one of your first gigs professionally was PAing Castaway.
Yes.
Can you just give us like 2 minutes about what it was like to be a PA on Castaway?
I've actually never been asked this before.
Really?
No. It was wonderful. I had only PA'd before that on like little independent movies. Like my first PA job, which was, this is probably 2 months before I got Castaway, was called Going Back to Cali. And it was an entire African American blatant ripoff of what's it called? Swingers.
Oh.
And literally to produce everybody at night would watch Swingers. And then the next day, we'd
make this
reshoot
movie.
the scene with an African American cast.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff I was doing when I got Castaway. And I was in the wardrobe department. It was like the only thing they offered me an office job or wardrobe department, and for some reason I chose wardrobe department. It was really interesting. A lot of people make the joke, it was Castaway, there wasn't too much wardrobe. There was tons of wardrobe.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff, they had to make 10 copies of everything.
Yeah.
This is what he looked like on day 1.
Oh,
10
yeah,
copies
yeah.
of that. This is what he looked like on week 2. 10
wow.
copies of that. So everything from the black and red thing the down coat he's wearing when he crashes to the loincloth at the end, at least 10 copies
Wow.
per thing.
Yeah.
So, but it was amazing. And by the way, though, I came out here wanting to be a director. Seeing Zemeckis directing and he was literally like the first real director I ever saw, and he was directing. I mean, he was really. Like, it was the moment where just to keep interrupting myself, the thing that happened was it was the Thanksgiving scene in Castaway, and I'm just watching him talking to all the actors, like actors who were saying one or two lines at dinner, and like him having 10-minute conversations about their motivation for their one line, which literally is like pass the soup. And I just remember being like, I think I'm a producer. I don't know if I'm a director. So that was the beginning of me taking a 18-year hiatus from directing. But it was a great experience. Something happened with Hanks's driver, like he had an accident or surgery or vacation. I don't know what, but I literally picked up Hanks. Picked him up 10 times.
Wow.
Took him home 10 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And he sat. It was my Honda CRV. And literally sat up front with me, and all we did was talk about NASA. I'm 22 years old. Yeah, hanging out with Tom Hanks.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
So I'm glad to hear Tom Hanks is as nice in person as I would hope.
I mean, that's even an understatement
Wow.
you just made. He's like, it's not just that he's nice. Like, a lot of talent are nice. A lot of people are nice. He is genuine.
Wow. Yeah.
He listens to you. You're having a conversation. He would come up to me. Like I said, his driver eventually came back, so I wasn't picking him up anymore. He came up to me like a month later and was like, remember that thing you said about that thing? I was thinking about it. And da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I'm like literally having a conversation with Forrest Gump, Jim Swagger, like Hoot Turner.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Well, I wish we had more time, but any last questions for Brian, Aaron, or Mike before we get out of here?
I mean, I am just satisfied knowing Tom Hanks is nice. That's all I wanted.
know, that's all we needed for today.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Is there a toy that you have not covered yet that you want to?
Well, are you asking me like that from the point of view of general principle or emotional?
Emotional.
Yeah.
Oh, emotional?
Yeah.
God willing, Netflix says, good news, one more season. Bad news, this is your last season. It's kind of like being a lame duck. I could do whatever I want at that point. I really, really hope they let me make a final episode that I would call The Toys That Should Have Not Been Made. And the spinal column of that episode would be LJN's Dune line, where it's... and the reason it's the perfect bookend to the Star Wars episode is... And we've interviewed some of these LJN people already, so we actually already have some of this. We'd have to do more of it, but we literally could make this montage of all the Star Wars people from Kenner, like Jim Swearingen from Kenner. We could show him being, I read the script, I knew it was great, I went to my boss, I convinced him to do it, and then Kenner went from number 12 to number 1. And we would cut that with the dude from LJN. It was like, I read the script. I knew it would be great. I went to my boss. We made the toys. And LJN went bankrupt. Oh, my God. 10 months later. Yeah. Like, Dune literally destroyed everything it touched, unlike Star Wars. And one of the things I've tried to do with the show is show the delicate nature of success. Like, why did He-Man succeed, no offense, and Mask failed?
No. Yeah.
Imagine if He-Man season 3, they got rid of all the muscles. That's what Mask season 3 was. Where they're like, they just don't transform. They just drive around. So that, I really hope... I really hope we get to make that episode.
I'm sure that phenomenon is very relatable as a producer. It's the same kind of thing where you're putting something out that you put so much time, work, effort, and energy to, and some things pop and some things don't. And there is no magical science behind what's going to work.
I have a weird obsession with failure, my own and others as well. I have so I do not have a single, not one, good or even remotely positive review of my work framed on my walls at home or in the office. But I do have all my bad reviews. Wow. Do I have time to tell you my favorite?
Yes, absolutely.
So, not to name drop and just blow you away with my credits. I mean, thank God you're all sitting because you fall over.
Yeah.
I actually produced, it's the only film to win every single Oscar category. Good luck, Chuck. Did you ever see that great film?
Dan Cook.
Dan Cook,
Yeah.
Alba. I'm joking. It didn't win any. The movie, I mean, literally couldn't have been reviewed worse. I got an F from Entertainment Weekly. I don't know how much you know about that magazine listing back then. It was all rigged. It was all BS. It was all about like, oh, yeah, if you gave money to them for marketing, they give you a B minus.
Yeah.
We got an F.
You didn't know you were supposed to be giving money?
No, I think we did give money, and they still gave the F. So the movie came out, I think, if I remember correctly, like around July or August or June or something in the summer. I mean, gut-wrenching, horrible reviews. And don't get me wrong, it's not a great film.
Right.
It's not that bad.
Okay.
But, I mean, scathing.
Yeah.
Scathing. So cut to, it's like December 20th or something, and I think I'm safe. I'm like, you know, I don't have to worry anymore about the good luck. And I even had like the Time magazine best and worst, and I was like, and we weren't on the worst list. I was like, oh, we made it. Then the LA Times did their own best and worst of the year, and they had a category for foods. And that year, if I remember correctly, Pizza Hut put out a dessert pizza.
Interesting.
And it was like Oreos and pizza combined.
Oh,
so
no.
it was like...
It had like sauce and cheese and stuff?
No. It didn't have sauce
Like
and
a chocolate
cheese.
sauce,
But
yeah.
it was like pizza
Gotcha.
shaped. It looked like pizza, but it was a cookie and it was desserts and ice cream.
That sounds good.
And they described it as the good luck Chuck of pizza desserts.
Oh, no.
And I remember exactly when I was reading it, and I was just like, good one. But I have that cut out and framed on my wall. I think it's the funniest
so
thing.
funny.
Because good reviews aren't funny.
Yeah,
I know.
that's
It's
true.
just like, I love this, I love that. And it's like when people write good reviews, they're not trying to be creative.
Yeah.
They're just reporting the facts. But with bad reviews, my favorite bad review, I did this show called Tourgasm that was on HBO. And in the opening of the first episode, I ended up being on the show. I'm not saying this to be humble or funny. Literally by accident, I got into a screaming match with Gary Goldman, and they were like, "Well, now you're in the show." Oh my gosh. So they had to add this thing of me in the front of the first episode, basically saying, "Here's who I am," and I was like, you know, like for the first time in history, you know, TV is going to go behind the scenes and see what it's like to be on a tour with comedians. So, you know, TV Guide used to do the cheers and jeers. So we got jeers. They quoted me and then listed every single show that had already done that.
Oh my gosh.
And again, I'm like,
just calling you out
that took
so
a lot
hard.
of work.
Yeah.
That took a lot of work. They were like comedians.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I gotta get that phrase.
I love
Amazing.
it. Well, there's something to be said about making such a cultural impact. A lot of stuff doesn't resonate negatively or positively.
Yeah,
So, you know, at
that's
least
true.
you were making stuff that people
A
were
bad review is
talking
better
about.
than no review.
Yeah.
The worst show I ever made, and I won't say what it is, but the worst show I ever made, no one saw it, no one reviewed it, no one I can't stop talking about it. But, no one talked about it. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I wish we had more time, and we'll have to bring you back. But of
Very
course,
kind.
the movies that made us dropped Friday. You can continue to watch the toys that made us. Anything else before we let you go that you'd like to promote right now?
We put out a Blu-ray.
Great.
We put out a Blu-ray for seasons 1 and 2.
Nice.
Amazing.
Everybody should buy that Blu-ray.
Ask Santa for it for Christmas.
It
Yes.
comes with a plastic TV with our logo on it.
I love it. I
It's the
Amazing.
first toys that made us toy.
Wow.
Well, I'm a
Love
huge
it.
comedy nerd, so at some point I'd love to bring you back just to talk about all the comics you've worked with. Gary Goldman in particular just released an HBO special that's
Genius. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
saw it. I
Great
just
to
saw
fresh.
it on Friday.
yeah, it's
Genius.
brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
so definitely check that out. And Brian, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
Really
you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Set up
Very
the
much.
sleigh, Jay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna saddle up the sleigh right now.
And I've got these letters to deliver.
Thank you, Santa.
You better be getting home, too. And remember, behave yourselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the 6 months of Christmas. Today we talked with Brian Volk Weiss all about, as I mentioned, the That Made Us series on Netflix. Make sure you check those out. In the meantime, check out our catalog. We did another toys show about a month ago.
Yeah. Almost 2 months ago now.
It's gone fast.
I know, it really
man.
has.
And,
we did a couple toys episodes.
We've done
I
a
think.
couple great
Yeah.
toys episodes, so check back in our catalog. If you're not subscribed to our podcast, make sure you do that as well if you're more of the audio type.
Yeah, if you don't want to see our faces.
If you get tired of our ugly, annoying faces. But in the meantime, you can keep up with me on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham. How about the rest of you guys?
At Mike Kalinowski.
I'm at Aaron Kazon on Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at Brian Volk Weiss?
Instagram. Yeah, Brian Volk Weiss Instagram.
All right. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time here on the 6 Months of Christmas.
Bye.
Chief Elf Officers Keven Undergaro and Maria Menounos, Chief Spirit Officer Jeff Graham, and the entire The Christmas 24/7 channel, we would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV's The Christmas 24/7 channel. If you have questions or comments, email us at thechristmas247@gmail.com. Until next time, do your best to give, forgive, and be merry. Ho, 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 ho.